Sorry, I got sidetracked doing some testing in the background of unrelated stuff. Hey, yeah, a little late, better than never. We're gonna look at video 7 of Kent's video response to R and Raw back in late 2018, early 2019. It was late 2018. This one's an hour long, so we're going to be here a while, and there's really nothing else to say but for us to just go right into it. Because I mean, we all know what this is. We all know what's coming. We all know how Hovind is, how he was, how he will forever be. I just cover this stuff as a matter of course because people watch. Let me first off, I just want to point out that this is what they've still been up to, is this blood bought Baptist camp stuff, and we got like 2 hour, 3 hour, 2 hour, long videos here, just live streams of stuff going on there. It's just really freaking creepy looking at it from the outside. Just this Christian obsession with blood. Really, really disturbing. But that's just me. Your mileage may vary. That being said, let's get to the focus of the of everything. Part 7 of can't words today of Kent Hovind's response to R and Raw. I mean, this really shows you how far we've gone. Aaron's initial video, which was all of 24 minutes, and Kent's gone through hours upon hours of this. It's just crazy. Then again, I'm the guy who, over the past 7-8 months, has devoted literally days of my life to covering these videos. But I have fun. We have fun. Make some money. It's all good. Everybody wins. Except Hovind. Hovind always loses. Never bet on the Hovind. Anyway, let's get to it.
Good evening, folks. Kent Hovind here and the crew at Dinosaur Adventureland. Had an exciting day today. Got lots done around here. Praise God. It is November the 8th, 2018. And we've got to come volunteer. Brother, how long you been here? Come on up. Tell them who you are and what you've been here for, what, 3 or 4 days now?
Wow, and this person's probably hadn't been anywhere near DAL in like 5 years, but he always has to do this in every single thing he does. AJ mentioned this in his birthday stream yesterday, that how annoying it is that Kent has to give like the local minutes in his broadcast, and it's like, no, dude, just get to the point.
5 days now? 5 days now, okay. Tell them who you are and what you do and all that stuff.
I'm Richard Watson IV. I'm here from Bangor, Maine. I grew up in a little Greenfield Baptist church, and
I'm totally here and giving this testimony of my own free will. Ignore the gentleman off screen with the loaded Kalashnikovs. They're just decoration.
about my early teen years, the world convinced me that I wanted something else, and I tried to take the control back, and everything I touched seemed to fall apart. Had to lose everything that was dear to me at rock bottom, and I came back. I was born again in jail, actually, and the Lord brought me back into the fold. And
that's all you get at DAL. Like, I'm sorry, but seriously, that's nearly all you get at DAL is people who have one point or another been in jail, have addiction problems, have major family issues, and it's like, life happens. I feel like I'm being an asshole by pointing that out, because many beloved people in our community have had problems. But then you look and realize every single one of those people in our community has also risen above them themselves. Whereas these people, the track record is always they continue to be scummy. Now it's just okay for them to be horrible people because Magic Sky Daddy's forgiven them. No one at DAL ever seems to be there just because. No one who sticks around for any length of time or actually wants to help to any degree, that's for sure.
I even lost custody of my son, which I truly
See, there we go. Lost custody of the kid, just like Grantham and Jessica, who still haven't come back. They ain't coming back.
regret. But it was a blessing because the Lord brought me back, and now I run into Kent Hovind's videos, and
Also, when people can't pronounce his name properly, you know, it's understandable. Someone who's new to him, especially someone like in the UK, like in the earliest videos, Simon Dan would say Hovind. But when you're here, when you're domestic and you follow, it's like, I would go back and look and see how Kent reacted to it. But actually, yeah, let's do that real quick. Let's just see if there's any little shift in Kent's creepy death stare as this dude gives his little testimonial.
and now I run into Kent Hovind's videos, and
No, dead face all the way through. He's just letting him talk, and then he's going back to his stuff. You think someone with an ego as big as Kent, he would get pissed off if someone mispronounced his name.
you know, I can't seem to get enough of the Lord's. He's been blessing me. So I've found all kinds of different literature, everything that he's suggested. I've been reading books and growing in the Lord and growing in the faith, and I couldn't be.
Yeah, meanwhile, staying completely underdeveloped as an actual human being. That's the stuff I'm getting at. They substitute actual personal growth, accountability, and progress, bettering themselves for faith. Like, oh, I'm just gonna believe Magic Sky Daddy, and society accepts that, so I'm cool. Let me keep on doing the same horrible stuff I did, but you know, I'm forgiven, and I hide it a little better this time. That's all it ever is.
Happier, and it's been a pleasure to be around here and serve the Lord with my hands, because I serve a secular establishment back home, and it's really.
Yeah, exactly, Seth. You know, you're from another country, you ain't gonna know for sure how to pronounce these things. Look at all the French names and stuff that pop up that, you know, like YouTubers I watch, they're just like, I ain't pronouncing that. It's like, I don't blame you, buddy.
It can be spiritually draining sometimes. So it's been really refreshing, and I can feel the spirit here. It's amazing. So come on down. It's really a lot of fun, and it really.
Maybe your child will be the lucky one who doesn't be involved in a drowning. The odds are technically in your favor, but not by much.
Will be a blessing to you.
Hey, man, you've been here 5 days now?
5 days. Yep.
So some people say we're a cult.
We serve the Lord. Praise
Yeah, that's not cult-like at all.
Jesus.
And Independent Baptist, if that's a cult.
Amen.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you coming. All right, get back to work. Okay. Thank you. He's been out there building on the new.
Oh yeah, Seth. He was super uncomfortable the whole time, and it could just be, you know, a stage fright in effect. But yeah, something wrong there.
Shop / extension to the Science Center, and quite a challenge. Some of that stuff, isn't it? Yeah. The pole barn. Yeah. Come down, volunteer, spend a week. You'll love it here. Almost everybody does. We had a few that left and got the sour grapes attitude, you know, and saying all kinds of nasty things, but the vast majority come here and just say, wow, this is.
I can feel the spirit coming all over me and inside of me. Come on down. Holy bukkake, anyone?
Awesome. Just awesome. Okay, we need another carpenter. How many more, Jeff? 3 or 4?
Oh, so I'd like to point out, not that it matters, but I had a video a couple of days ago get age restricted by YouTube. I appealed it last night, and this morning I woke up and they're like, yeah, you're fine. And so I'm like, that's a win. Woohoo! You know, I'll take that. I don't know what was in the video that was objectionable, but I think it was one of my more straightforward ones. So I don't know. I mean, I probably made some crude joke, but they obviously, you know, the reviewer might have just clicked through like, I ain't gonna sit through this video. I think I got that in my favor, that people won't sit through an hour-and-a-half video, even if the areas are targeted when they do the reviews. I don't know. But I'm feeling proud on that one, hence the multiple streams today. But Chris, pride's a sin. Yep. It's a Saturday Sin Fest. We're getting in preparation for the Sunday Sin Fest.
Yeah, to finish up. That's just to finish the pole barn. You know, there's more projects waiting, right?
I suspected that.
Okay, good. My brain won't shut off. You know, I eat pizza with peanut butter on it late at night and wake up and say, whoa, hey, we could do this.
Well, you don't even need that.
Don't even need that. Bible study, Sunday through Friday, 6:30 from now on, I guess, unless somebody wants to. It doesn't matter to me. Y'all come, take the tour. We need a trencher of some sorts for projects. We're always doing projects around here. Need some concrete dinosaurs if you have some artistic skill and want to.
I love going back to these old ones because you find all the weird stuff Hovind was obsessed with, like concrete's, cheap. And it's like he got like a few dinosaurs, I think, but not what he was wanting here. And it's just funny seeing him constantly beg for stuff for DAL.
Bend the wire around and stucco them. Come on down, build some dinosaurs for us. If you want to get involved in the presidential pardon, KentHovinIsInnocent.com. Call Brady Byram. There he is right there. Phone number in Dallas, Texas. Talk to him today. And he's helping people do that. I got a wild idea.
I ain't saying anything on Byram or any of this. Just letting it be what it is.
Like too much pizza with peanut butter on it, Rich, that rope you got is 200 feet long, right? That, 3-inch nylon rope? Huge, barge rope. I want to build a Burmese bridge across the lake.
Whoa. Thanks, Rich.
Whoa, those poor kids. Also, that's another thing I don't think ever got built. Certainly not anything like that.
Cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody needs a Burmese bridge, and so I thought we'd put it right here where the neck of the dinosaur is, right there, and be able to go across. We still got to get under it with the boat, so it's got to be kind of high. That's where the dam was that we broke, remember, and made the miniature Grand Canyon in minutes. Just go back to Christmas time, the day before Christmas, 2016, here on our YouTube, and you can see the dam break, how rapidly water can do damage and erosion. Grand Canyon probably formed in less than a week, not millions of years.
Yeah, Kent, I'd love to see running water cut through solid rock in a week. Like normal running water, not some, hydrojet or anything like that, buddy. Come on, demonstrate it. I love your experiments in stratification video that's hot garbage.
So come on down. If you want to help us build a Burmese bridge, got all kinds of wild ideas, no money, but boy, do we get the ideas, just don't quit. This is definitely a good place to heal up psychologically, emotionally. Just come, relax. This is not a cult. I'm an independent Baptist preacher.
Yeah, a healing place. Stay for 1 or 2 days and you're being put to work. I need a trench digger to hide the bodies of people who don't work out. The skeletons aren't there. The skeletons are buried under the plastic skeletons, Hovind.
Have been for 45 years. Believe the Bible is true. And we'll
And yes, rip to our YouTube. Not once, not twice, but thrice.
want to help. Best place to heal up. We need a lot of plumbing, electric, sheetrock. How you doing on bunkhouse 5 and 6? Who's working on 5? Plumbing's done.
Also, of course, he's one of those douchebags who can't say drywall. He has to say sheetrock.
And working. Got the hot water in 6? Hot water heater? Yay. I haven't been in there yet. It's been busy. Anyway, praise God. Don't go in, okay. 2 more baptized this week, so 35 total so far. If you want to help us stay open for free, join our 777 Club. We're looking for 770 people to give $1 a day. You're welcome to give more, and if you do.
And if you can give $1 a day to Caruso Tomato, that's a lot of money, and I appreciate it. But if you can't, that's cool too. But all seriousness, here's my point to say, hey, super chats and stuff, and super thanks if you're watching this after the fact. Yeah, got a thumbs up gesture going on here that would be great if I was on camera, but, still don't have a camera for the desktop. Because I'm poor. Let's continue.
And we're not going to put any pressure on you. We won't send you a letter begging for money. Just donate if God puts it on your heart. Make any checks to CSE.
Ah, yes. We get the UK parlance of plasterboard. Yep. All names acceptable. Not sheetrock, though. That's a brand.
Okay, we've been put out a whole
Also, did John James know you stole his check and put it up on the internet over there?
series of videos, and we're going to continue this maybe tomorrow. See how far I get tonight. On things that just cannot be explained by the evolution theory. It had to be designed, and we've been for the last 6 or 4 months been doing this. And so, self-proclaimed atheist Aaron Ra Nelson,
Self-proclaimed Christian Kent E. Hovind, Actual name 0645-2017.
said he wanted to do a debate or something like this, and I said, well, give me your best 3 evidences on evolution. And with Mr. Nelson, since he continually interrupts, our last exchange, I got 36 minutes, he got 62 minutes, and he interrupted me 288 times in 36 minutes.
That's because you said at least 288 things that you needed to get smacked upside the head for. At least. There's actually more. But Aaron was reserved a little bit.
I'm not interested in a live debate with him unless we have a mute button that one of our people controls. Let me talk, get it finished. I'm a gentleman. I will be fair and kind, but sometimes to
Gentlemen, you're a fucking douchebag, Kent.
answer a 5-second question takes days. Sometimes in murder trials, somebody will, give a 5-second accusation. Did you murder this guy on, 22nd Street? And it takes months or a year. Look at O.J. Simpson's trial. So, for you morons that are trying to distract attention by saying, Hovind, why are you giving such a long answer to his 26-minute video? Well, his turn is next. He's welcome to take 3 years and pick my sentences apart, and then I'll go back through again. Or my suggestion would be, Mr. Nelson, you shut up right here. You lost. Keep quiet. And go do something else, okay? But if you want to make comments, I
Hovind thinks he's cute.
will be glad to respond. That was the deal when we started. You make your speech, which is here. I interject my comments, which I'm doing. Then you go back and interject your comments, which you have yet to do. And I would suggest you just stop and not do it. But if you do, then I get to interject my comments for the final time. You get.
At least Kent doesn't immediately go to 11 like Oakley. Kent can at least somewhat control himself up to a point. He's got that going for him. I'll debate you live as long as I can mute you whenever I feel like. Tell me more about how you aren't a cult. Exactly. By the way, if everyone in chat could tell Seth here to have a really good day at work, because he's got work in a little bit, that'd be super. I don't have work because I've got a really good schedule, but it also means all of my free time is crammed into the crummy weekend. And the rest of it's spent recovering from each day of work. Eat, sleep, work, repeat till the clock runs out. Anyway, let's continue.
2 cracks at it. I get 2 cracks at it. So I asked him for his 3 best evidences for evolution. He said the first line of evidence is the fact that evolution happens. Go back and watch the tape. Biodiversity and complexity increase naturally. I don't believe that for 1 second.
Good point, Zoomy Tomato. Oakley does do that.
Mr. Nelson, the Bible says they will bring forth after kind. Now, variations certainly happen, but they have limits, and this is what you refuse to admit.
I just saw a video about how some names people call things are actually brand names and not names for the thing itself, like dumpster is a brand name. Yeah, genericized trademarks. It's not too popular now, but Xerox something to refer to copying it. Of course, Kleenex referring to nasal tissue. Q-tip instead of cotton swab. Clorox instead of bleach. And this creates big problems because people will associate their most prominent product with the brand. And so people will misinterpret things like a Clorox product that in no way has chlorine in it. Chlorine bleach. Nothing in it. It's just a normal cleaner. They'll think it contains bleach because they think, instead of thinking of bleach as bleach, they think of it as Clorox. It's a big problem, and that's why I'm such an asshole about the particular words used to describe things, the way people talk about things, really betraying how they understand those things. And you'll notice, sometimes let stuff slip in, or I'm actually fond of saying Xerox as sort of an anachronism. I really try hard to avoid that at all costs. And as I learn that I'm not using the right name for something, I try to correct myself. Like the Nintendo Wii, we were talking about that a few streams ago. The Wii remote, everyone called it a Wiimote, but that was never a Nintendo name for the product, for the item. So I stopped myself from calling it Wiimote. And I was corrected on that by guys I worked with, and they were right. So I'm just like, okay, I now accept this correction. Googling stuff is an interesting one because it follows the same criteria as a genericized trademark, but the founders used it in early documents to describe the idea of using Google to conduct a search. So they kind of created it themselves. And it is a little different in that it's being used as a verb in that case, but it's the same idea. As people will say Google when they mean search. Look it up on Google. It's like, well, I can use any search engine. I don't have to use Google. That's the thing. It's indicative of how people think about stuff, and even more so, though, the pervasiveness of advertising and branding into things where people develop an association of the brand and the product that's too extreme. Instead of thinking, I need bleach and buying Clorox brand bleach, they'll think I need Clorox. And to me, that's, understandable, but it's still a sign of lower intelligence to me. But that's just me. Oh boy, I got zoomy on brain implosion energy. Let's continue. I don't need some brain implosion energy to deal with Hovind.
They've been breeding for trying to get bigger pigs for a long time. Farmers keep trying to get bigger and bigger pigs. Do you think they'll ever get a pig as big as Texas, where you live?
No.
I would say probably no. There is a limit, okay? Now, you don't want to admit that, but yes, there is a limit. And
yet, Kent, whenever you're in a debate and you bring this up, people tell you, yeah, there's limits, and the limits you're talking about are all physical limits. They're not biological limits. There are no practical biological limits. Everything becomes a physical problem at that point.
roaches become resistant to pesticides. You spray them after a couple generations, the spray doesn't bother them. There are limits, though. They will never become resistant to a sledgehammer.
Frisbee, it's a flying disc, yeah.
I promise, okay? Here's a tiger had 3 different color cubs. They're still tiger. There are limits. They always produce the same kind, what anybody would consider the same kind.
Yeah, that's another thing. Everything's Nintendo. Everything's a PlayStation. Things this. A really bad one, and this isn't the genericized trademark, but it's a thing that bugs me, and it's again prominent in really prominent, but really weird. Is people will refer to game as both a game disc or a game cartridge and the system themselves. So when I worked at the place doing repairs, people call and it'd always be like, is my game ready? And you'd have to try to go through the rigmarole of finding, well, what do you mean? Like, oh, my Xbox. Okay, which model? What's your name? All this, that, the other. Hell, sometimes the calls were just, do y'all sell games? And it's like, no, I mean the game to play the game. It's like, you mean the consoles? Yes, we do. It's so ridiculous because they even catch themselves up in it, and yet they still talk that way. It's like, just say system, just say console, just say something. Okay, it's not alien vernacular. It's still prominent in the scene, but these are perfectly normal, if not, I hate to say, subpar people who got into the hobby that I loved for so long. But I haven't been able to use Ask Jeeves since they shut it down. It pissed me off.
That's not really evolution. The information for that variety was already in the gene code. Notice they got tigers.
Mapleson, good point. Pampers is commonly used here as well.
They never got a blue one or a pink one or a red one.
And by here, I'm talking like regionally.
They got colors that are already in the gene code. The new information is not, no new information is added. The dog did not become pink or learn to fly. They're still dog. It might be useless like your dog, or but it's still dog, sort of, okay? And the gene pool of the new variety is always more limited. This is from my seminar part 4. Chihuahuas cannot produce Great Danes. Their gene pool is limited. How long would the Chihuahuas last in the real world?
And, you are proof that your parents can't produce a tax-paying, contributing citizen to society. Burn.
Turn them loose into the woods and watch. Wolf would walk up there. Go ahead, make my day. Crunch, 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 right? I come from Illinois, corn country. There are hundreds of varieties of corn. They have to number them. But when you get a variety or a strain of corn, it's still corn, and it's always weaker in almost every other area except for the one trait they're looking for. Maybe it's more disease resistance, or maybe it's more drought resistant, whatever their area is. They raise corn to stand more water, or to withstand insect floods, whatever, or to grow bigger.
Withstand insect floods. That's pretty terrifying, honestly.
But it's always corn. You're never going to get a whale or a hamster or a tomato to grow on your corn stalk. There are limits, and you guys either can't understand it or won't admit it. There are 339 recognized breeds of dogs in America, in the American Kennel Association. They're always going to produce a dog, and they all came from dogs. BBC looks like 95% of current dogs came from just 3 original founding females. I think it was probably maybe 1. But still, they got the right concept. Sure, dogs produce a variety, but they're limited. Today's dogs come in all shapes and sizes. But scientists believe they evolved from just a handful of wolves, tamed by humans 15,000 years ago. They're getting close. Keep studying. Pretty soon you can be independent, temperamental, fundamental, right-wing, radical, chicken-eating Baptist if you keep studying, okay? They talk about, this Irish textbook talks about divergent. I am wound up tonight, man. I got to get this covered. I've been studying this, and I said, makes me mad that he teaches what he does, so I'll be sweet and kind and go fast, okay? Divergent evolution, this Irish textbook says. Don't give it a fancy name. It's still a dog. Oh, yes, look, boys and girls, the poodle, the Dalmatian, the terrier all came from a common... It's still a dog. It's not divergent evolution. This textbook says we have divergent evolution.
That explains why this video is an hour long, because he just keeps going and going and going. Now I don't feel so bad about our genericized trademark rant earlier. Hey, remember, if you're watching this video after the fact, I interact with my audience, so if you don't like me doing the rambles on that, pop in live and redirect the stream. Here's an idea for you.
Because on opposite sides of the Grand Canyon, there are 2 different kinds of squirrels. Whoa. Okay. Let's see. We have the Kaibab squirrel on one side and the Abert squirrel on the other side. This proves we all came from a rock. In their mind, that's all you need. There's a whole...
We have a book that says a bunch of things, and that proves that we all came from Dustman and Ribwoman made by some god.
whole bunch of varieties of squirrels, and you squirrel hunters, I'd like to get one of every single kind to put in our museum here, stuffed and mounted. That'd be cool. There's a variety of horses, and this Mexican textbook says the zebra and the horse had a common ancestor. I would agree that's probably true, and it looked like a horse, you know, four-wheel drive, leather upholstery. It was a horse kind of animal. There are miniature horses today, 30 inches tall. We had one of the world's smallest horses come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. My granddaughter, she's now 17 years old, is trying to sit on the horse. She's 4 weeks old there.
Yeah, the old Dinosaur Adventureland.
That was a tiny horse. It's still a horse. It could be horses, zebras, asses, all had a common ancestor. They crossbreed them all sorts of ways. They get zorses, zonkies, zeonies, zedonks, zebras, shebras. Most of them are sterile.
But Kent, the animals don't care what we call them, remember?
But the fact that they can cross at all probably indicates they're the same kind. I bet you could not cross a horse and a cow, or a horse and a giraffe, or a horse and a hamster.
They're not the same thing.
There are limits. Why can't they admit that? Stripeless zebra baffles the experts. A Zetland zoni, the result of breeding a female Shetland pony to a male zebra. They're still four-wheel drive, you know, leather upholstery. It's still in the horse kind. Is it a zonky or a debra? We don't know. We can't figure it out. Here's a herd of zebroids running around. Still the same kind of animal. You know, in the last 100 years, the Kentucky Derby up in Kentucky, the winning speed went from an average of 127 seconds down to 123 seconds. Now, even in the old days, they got some really good times. I mean, really good times in the old days, in the 20s and 30s. Question, how much money would you guess has been spent on selective breeding trying to get a faster horse for the Kentucky Derby?
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. Why don't they breed wings on the horse and fly around the track in 12 seconds?
As Aaron put it, that would be impossible. That would be breaking monophyly amongst many other properties. Here's something you need to, you're probably too stupid to notice, Kent, is that any animal with wings doesn't have forearms. Those kinds of wings. The bird kind of wings. Bat kind of wings. Because the wings are modified forearms. Bat wings are their own particular thing. Insect wings are their own thing. But focusing on the bird things, because that's what the Pegasus depicted with. The feathered dinosaurs had the feathers on the arm, and, give it a couple million years and you get something pretty neat. Oh, but you say the years aren't there. Except they are, Kent. They are. And earlier we watched a very short clip of someone who acknowledges that, who's also still a creationist. It was so funny seeing them say they reject evolution, yet use points that Hovind would argue against as part of evolution to defend the Bible. And the idea that the Earth is not super old, but still older than 6 to 10,000 years. Quite interesting. Really enjoyed that little string. Yeah, Kent, that's not what you'd get. That would be indicative of created kinds. That would be something special. That's what we would expect to constantly see if everything was specially created. Not everything being so compartmentally related to one another.
Still getting a horse, guys. You're always going to get a horse. They got leopons now, cross between a lion and a leopard. It's still in the cat family. They got tigons and ligers. How many kinds of cows are there in the world? Gee whiz, there's some for more beef, some for more milk, some to
God, he just keeps going.
stand the heat better. There's a cross between a buffalo and a bison, or domestic beef.
Bison. Who the fuck calls it a bison?
Buffalo cow. Well, maybe the buffalo and the cow are the same original created kind. Somebody crossed a sheep and a goat. Got a geep. They crossed.
Yeah, honestly, the wings would slow the thing down with drag and all.
A false killer whale with a dolphin and got a whelpin. Okay, they still swim in the water. Try to cross your whelpin with a cow, okay, or an elephant. There's a cama, which is a result of a llama and a camel. Well, maybe that's original, same kind of animal, close enough to breed. There's a jag lion, cross between a jaguar and a lion. How about a bobcat lynx cross? I got a magazine where you can order chickens. You know, there are over 30 varieties of chickens you can get. And it says right here, jungle fowl are the original bird from which all varieties and strains of domesticated chickens are derived. Did you know all the chickens had a common ancestor? Anybody want to guess what it was?
Chicken?
A frog. A frog. Come on, man. There are 8 varieties of bears in the world. We got them displayed.
Bears. Well, let's ignore his butchering of, evolutionary principles again by doing the frog stupid ass joke. But also notice we were talking about the category of chickens, so we're talking about a particular group and them originating from a particular individual species. What about chickens and other birds, Kent? Suddenly, oh look, they're a kind too. Oh, and they probably had a common ancestor called a bird. And then you can keep on grouping these things together based on traits. And oh shit, you accidentally wind up with all of taxonomy as we have it today. It's real funny how that works. Almost as if that's the way reality is.
Play out here in our museum. 8 kinds of bears. Black bear, brown bear, grizzly bear, panda bear, sun bear, polar bear. They might have had a common ancestor.
The dad buffalo says bye son when he goes to work. That's a good one. Water. Bison and buffalo are the same thing, Kent. Yeah.
Ancestor called a bear. There's a crossbred of polar and a grizzly. I guess it could happen up in the wild. I don't know. They cover some of the same habitat. This textbook at Kent State University says, look at the evidence for evolution, boys and girls. This fish produced 3 different varieties of fin shapes. The fins are shaped different. That proves evolution. Oh,
yeah, and how far do you have to go with different shapes before you start classifying it as something different, Kent? You have no depth. Just no depth to your view of the universe. But of course, we all knew that already.
Oh, yeah. This textbook right there on the shelf says broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower all came from a common ancestor. I agree. We covered that in the broccoli section. And boy, they jumped right on that and said broccoli is a man-made invention. No, broccoli is a plant. Heard about the atheist saying, God, we don't need you anymore. We can explain how the universe, how man got here. And God says, oh, really?
We never needed God. That was a pathetic excuse a group made up when questioned about all the shit we didn't know. That's it. God's the worst explanation for anything. One of the worst ideas ever. That's simple, Kent. I don't even have the energy to get, energetically pissed off. I'm just blunt today. It's a stupid idea, and you're stupid for believing in it the way you do.
Would you like to have a contest? The atheist said, sure. We'll have a contest. I'll make man. So the guy atheist bends down, starts getting some dirt. God says, no, get your own dirt. Think about that for 5 minutes.
That's fucking stupid, Kent.
I think they're the same kind. All up and down California, you've been out there where they raise the black English walnut trees on top of black walnut stumps. When they're itty bitty, they cut them off and grab them on because the English walnut stump doesn't handle the damp soil out there. The black walnut handles the soil, but it doesn't taste very good. So people want English walnuts. They're easier to crack, better tasting. So they graft them on by the thousands, acres and acres and acres of them. It's still a walnut. It's the same kind of animal. Why don't you graft that walnut on the back of a turtle? Let's see, crossbreed that, okay? During World War II, they tried to get more sugar out of the sugar beets to feed the soldiers because they couldn't get enough sugar. And they selectively bred sugar beets. They went from 6% sugar to 17% sugar. Two things happened. They hit a brick wall. They couldn't go past 17%. Secondly, the crop, you had to babysit the thing now because it was susceptible to all kinds of diseases. It got weaker. You got more sugar, but it got weaker. It could be the moose, the elk, the reindeer, and the caribou had a common ancestor. I wouldn't argue about that. They might have. I suspect they're the same kind. We've got a display out here in our science center showing that.
Okay, Kent, since you're such an expert on what the common ancestor was, what was the common ancestor? Because evolutionary theory and the fossil record shows what that common ancestor most likely would be, or a specimen that is a good candidate for such. You have nothing. I don't know if anyone noticed that in this. I don't think Aaron pointed it out, that you didn't bring up at all what that common ancestor would be. Because you don't actually know how to classify those particular creatures. It's not as obvious. And then from a research standpoint, it's obviously not something you've looked into. So I'm not criticizing that. It ain't like I've looked into it, but I'm not the one who decided to make it a point in my, at the 17-minute mark in my monologue about this crap where I say the same thing 500 times over. Because remember, these are presentations he prepped, he made. He plans all of this every single time. That's the disturbing part about this. This isn't ad hoc. This isn't, on a whim. He's not doing it live. He's doing it live, but it's planned. It's crazy. But yeah, you can't actually name what that kind was, what that kind is, what that ancestor would be, Kent. Which shows why your entire methodology is fundamentally flawed. If it looks the same, it must be the same, even when it's not.
Pecan nuts, cross between hickory and pecan. The dentist in Evergreen, Dr. Cartwright, made the display for us. He raises them. Here's one that's 50% pecan. He's got them that are 25% pecan. He crossbreeds.
It's nice that, nearly 40 minutes into the stream, I finally perk up enough to get kind of savage in my responses.
The pecans and hickories. They're both a tree. They both are a nut. It's not evolution. It's a variety of the same kind. We got some.
Hey, Kent, it's totally evolution.
Got them right here.
Watch out, everyone. Kent's about to show us his nuts.
That's a big cross between a hickory and mocker nut. That's a Whopper.
No, that's a nut. A Whopper is a burger you can purchase from Burger King that really kind of sucks. I don't like Burger King.
Right. Now, after 5 days, Ananias, the high priest, descended with the elders and with a certain orator, a guy going to give a fancy, flowery speech against Paul, named Tertullus, who informed the governor against Paul. And he gave a sesquipedalian speech. Used all kinds of flowery words.
Here we go. The man who just spent the past 10 minutes solid saying the same thing over and over is going to complain about sesquipedalianism from Aaron.
Sesquipedalian uses big fancy words, and we talked about that yesterday. Talking or tending to talk much or freely. Talkative. Got to give lots of big fancy words. Meet the master loquacious sesquipedarian right here, Mr. Ra.
Sesquipedarian. Good God, Kent.
So when this speech maker was called forward, he began to accuse Paul, saying, "Seeing that by thee we enjoy great quietness, and that very worthy deeds are done unto this nation by thy providence," he's buttering up the king, "we accept it always in all places, most noble Felix, with all thankfulness. Notwithstanding, that I be not further tedious unto thee, I pray thee that thou wouldst hear us of thy clemency a few words. For we have found this man a pestilent fellow, a mover of sedition among the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, who also hath gone about to profane the temple, whom we took and would have judged according to our law. But the chief priest Lysias came upon us, and with great violence took him away out of our hands, commanding his accusers to come unto thee, by examining of whom thou mayest take knowledge of all these things. Whereof we accuse him. And the Jews also assented, saying that these things were so." So he gave his flowery speech. Okay? Aaron, you gave your flowery speech of how you're convinced evolution is true. Paul stood up after the governor beckoned unto him to speak. He said, "Forasmuch as I know that thou hast been of many years a judge unto this nation, I do the more cheerfully answer for myself. Because that thou mayest understand, there were yet 12 days since I went up to Jerusalem for to worship. And they neither found me in the temple disputing with any man, neither raising up the people, neither in the synagogues, neither can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me." Mr. Nelson, you cannot prove anything about evolution that we've been discussing. You have some wild theories, and you...
Yeah, Savant sums it up nicely. Kent's Kind's dialogue relies on words like probably and maybe. He refers to baromins without putting animals into them because he knows he can't. Precisely.
eloquently present your theories with great and flowery words, but I think most people, if we slow it down and play it word by word or phrase by phrase, are realizing this is silly. Read the comment section. By the way, we had to take down 1 through 5 for a couple days for fear there might be a copyright infringement, but we're working on that. They're back up now, okay? It's one of the slides, nothing to do with it, no big deal. Okay. Okay. No,
yeah, one of the slides, that's why SpongeBob was boxed out. Had him on the screen too long, Viacom will sue.
Mr. Nelson said it's a fact that birds are a subset of dinosaurs. No, it is not a fact. You can believe that all you want. In the same way, humans are a subset of apes. Well, you know your friends better than me, okay? But no, we're not subsets of apes. Primates, you...
Describe an ape and you've described humanity, can't?
Therian mammals, invertebrate, deuterostrome animals. We talked about that last time. There is no faith required in any of this. We can prove it all. That's what you said. My second fact and evidence in support of evolution is taxonomy. We covered that last night. The first evidence of evolution, and is still the most compelling about the similarity of the different animals. Watch last night's broadcast if you don't believe me on that one. Now, his third line of evidence. I'm going to play, I know it's going to be difficult, 45 seconds straight without interruption.
Oh yeah, like how it was difficult for me to play multiple minutes of you without interruption, but I did it. You know, if you ever actually were able to watch my videos, but you're too offended by words, you might notice a pattern. And I notice that with a lot of people who cover you, is that they'll let you go for pretty long amounts of time. Sometimes they won't, when they need to have something they need to say, but sometimes they just let you say your piece. That's mostly because there's nothing else to add in. How many times can I say you're wrong without just repeating myself? Well, technically only once.
Of Mr. Nelson, starting at 2222 here. Where is he? Right here. Let's see. Got to get it over there. What's going on here? Why isn't it working?
Yeah, there you go. It was just there.
It's in the clouds.
Okay. Right there.
Birds are a subset of dinosaurs in the same way that humans are a subset of apes, primates, eutherian mammals, and durastome animals. There's no faith required in any of this. We can prove it all. Now, my third line of evidence supporting evolution is that we don't just have a mechanism that we know actually works even under direct observation and manipulation if we want to, and we don't just have a phylogeny that we can verify with fossils, morphology, physiology, embryology, and genetics. We also have an actual theory, something creationism doesn't have and can't even comprehend. A body.
Well, Aaron's going to define theory, and I always like to throw the analogy of older items you see may have like a manual with them or something, a theory of operation, or that's just a term used for something that describes how does this work. And I like that analogy, that variation of the use, because that to me is what the scientific theory concept is, a proper working model. That's the way I'd summarize it. In no way conflicting with Aaron's thing, instead supporting it in just my own words kind of fashion.
Body of knowledge with profound explanative power that has withstood more and harsher critical analysis than any other theory, and yet it still has never failed or been contradicted.
Okay, theory of operation, unlike how an AM radio from the 40s works, is totally, not that crucial. But it's the same idea in that it is a working model. In the case of scientific theories, those are working models that have been tested to the nth degree. That's just constantly being challenged, and it always comes out validated.
If you're going to disprove or refute any scientific theory, much less the best supported theory in all of science, you're going to have to cough up your own theory to replace it. That's one of the rules of science. To qualify, your hypothesis will have to be effectively proven in the sense that it has to make testable predictions that are potentially falsifiable, and it has to account for all the data better than the current theory.
We'll stop there for now because we're getting it's going to get way too deep to shovel if we don't. Okay? First, people get a BS, we know what that is, then they get MS, that's more of the same, and then PhD is piled higher and deeper. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Kent Hovind, remind us how much of a piled higher and deeper your PhD is again? It's so funny. It simultaneously demands that people call him doctor. Of course, says he doesn't, but he does. Otherwise, why would everybody do it? Complains about accredited universities and the degrees of others, yet obsesses over his own degree.
So, let me take this line at a time, Mr. Nelson. My third line of evidence supporting evolution is that we don't just have a mechanism that we know actually works. What? That is absolute baloney. What is the mechanism that changes a hamster to an elephant over billions of years?
Yeah, seriously. Aaron could do major narrations. He could do tours incredibly well. He's got a presentation style that works very well.
Changes an amoeba to a whale. What is that mechanism? I would like to see that.
Religion.
Where's the new information coming in the gene code? You do not have a mechanism that you know works. You imagine it, you dream about it. Hang on. Under direct observation and manipulation if we want to. No, you don't have that. Why would you say such a thing? Nobody observes how this happens. And we don't just have a phylogeny that we can verify with fossils, morphology, physiology, embryology, and genetics. We also have an actual theory. Whoa. Well, let's see. Let's take this line at a time, word at a time. Phylogeny, a proposal of how organisms are related by their evolutionary history. So they arrange them and draw lines on paper, and that becomes evidence. It is
No, you got the cart before the horse there, Kent. We have the evidence, and the way we piece everything together is depicted. And these lines on paper you complain about so much. It's just an organized representation of the data. Apparently, that's a concept far too complex for you. Yet you simultaneously understand that a book is a compilation of data. So I don't know. Maybe you're just a jerk ass.
Is based on the evidence that all living things are related by common descent. So your phylogeny trees are based on the evidence that they're related by common descent. That's imagination. The evidence for phylogeny comes from, and it names a bunch more sciences. Well, let's talk about these. He said, we also don't just have a phylogeny, we can verify with fossils. Look, no fossil counts as evidence of anything other than it died. In accordance
And no Bible counts as evidence of anything, period. Except that somebody wrote something. So, you want to play that game?
to law with an honest judge and an intelligent jury, they would throw out every single fossil as evidence for evolution. Every one. He said morphology. What is that? Morphology is the shape of organs and features that you have, the study of forms. How many animals have two eyes? Nearly all of them. Okay? My third line of evidence comes from physiology. What is that? The branch of biology that deals with normal functions of living organisms and their parts, the way in which a living organism or bodily part functions. So you're telling me the way things function, like your stomach digests food and your lungs exchange gases, that is proof for evolution. Couldn't that be, proof of creation?
Yep.
Also comes from embryology. I cannot believe you are.
Great points from the peanut gallery, and oh fuck, here we go. Do I still have the thing pinned? Give me just a moment. I need to get my caption ready. There we go. We're just gonna leave that up here.
Are still using this. You just throw out the word hoping nobody will catch it. Slow down. Embryology, an embryo, the baby growing in the mother, the branch of biology and medicine concerned with the development of embryos in their development. On my video number 4 of my series, Creation Seminar Series, go to video number 4, Lies in the Textbooks. I cover quite a bit.
Another great point from Gungvaldi. Went for it this time. Fossils don't count as evidence. Now let me tell you about how these skeletons of giants are totally evidence of the Nephilim.
I'm going to show just a small piece of it here about lies in the textbook, or you can buy it individually. $50 for the whole thing. That's a lie to say embryology supports evolution. Here's a textbook. Teeth biology right over there. They say we have evidence of evolution from development. They're lying through their teeth here. The similarity between early stages in development helped convince Darwin that many forms of life shared common ancestors. Whoa, now that's simply crazy. Darwin considered this by far the strongest single class of facts in favor of his theory. So when Darwin thought this idea that all the embryos look alike is the strongest evidence for his theory, it's not true, and you know that. I'm surprised, Mr. Nelson, that you would say embryology is evidence for evolution. This was proven wrong in 1874. Maybe you got 2 years of college. I know you have your associate's degree. Maybe keep going, and you might learn about that, okay? Haeckel made up the idea, the phrase, ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. What does that mean? Well, ontogeny, the growth of the...
That's what I had to think about that. I was intentionally unmuted. I knew it was coming.
baby inside the mother, goes through stages. Recapitulates or reenacts or plays out the whole story of phylogeny, the relationship of all the animals. So he's saying the baby goes through these stages and it replays all of evolution. Haeckel made up that phrase. This textbook, Irish textbook, says the presence of fish-like structures in embryos of different species shows that these animals have evolved from fish and share basic pattern of fish development. See, you got this one, and this one all look identical. This one turns into a human.
Remember, everyone, I'm a professional streamer. Oh, I wish the timing on that could have been better, but still. God. Yeah, this is the part where you kind of get to the meat of it, and so I've seen a lot of this in Aaron's replies. So it's something I've just already seen a few times and don't really have anything to add. honestly kind of bores me, but I know we're going to get to stuff that Aaron didn't put in his video. And so it's going to be some fresh content to rip into, but it's just the typical best of Kent Hovind. All we get every day.
This one turns into a bird. This one turns into a fish. This is what kids are being taught worldwide. Check out the textbooks. Embryology. It's as if the embryo retains a memory of its origins and starts to copy them during its development. In other words, it remembers when it used to be a fish. Just remember the word farm, F-A-R-M, fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal. That's supposedly the stages they go through. Okay. This is called baloney. The idea that sick-mind Freud relied on most heavily in the manuscript is the maxim that ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. That is, the development of the individual recapitulates the evolution of the entire species. See,
You know, Ken, all of this stuff, science realized was wrong. The ideas these guys had were wrong, and we figured that out relatively quickly.
Mind was a strong believer in evolution. Man's just an animal. This textbook shows the embryo having gills like a fish, folds of skin. Those are not gills. This is line number 11 in my video series, lies in the textbooks. Those little folds of skin develop into glands in the throat, and
Kent's chair squeaked as well, so no one can give me crap about my chair squeaking. I mean, you can, but, you know, not that anyone does, but very self-aware when it does that.
mostly glands in the throat and bones in the ear. They never have anything to do with breathing. Never.
Yeah, no one says they do. Gill slits is just a reference to what they become in fish. It's a term that's not really too good of one to use. That's why pharyngeal arches is the actual name for them. It doesn't change the fact that the structures are there, which is what you don't address ever. Because you can't.
They're little folds of skin. They grow into different... Nothing to do with breathing. I've seen fat folks that have 5 or 6 chins. They can't breathe through any of them but the top one. For heaven's sake, Hillary's got a bunch of them, okay? Haeckel reached an all-time low when he began presenting his...
Yes, and you're about to reach that point where you have that thing on your neck, Kent. It's starting to develop right there. Has it begun talking to you yet? I really need to know.
His biogenetic law, known as the law of recapitulation. Fancy word that means the baby growing in the mother reenacts the whole evolution story for us. Starts off as a fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal. Finally, when it's born, they say it's not a human until it's born.
Here we go. Waiting for the anti-abortion rant.
A box of rocks, if you believe that. Haeckel taught that each animal retraces the stages of evolution in its embryonic development. While it's growing in the mother, it goes through the stages of evolution. Now there's a human embryo and a dog embryo at 4 weeks. At 4 weeks development, you can see vast differences. Haeckel made them look exactly alike. Now keep in mind, this was in 1869, when not many folks had microscopes, certainly not good microscopes. Didn't have access to one there. So he got by with it for a long time. Creation magazine back in '96 ran an article showing the actual photographs compared to his drawings.
Yeah, that's a key point. Modern embryology isn't recapitulation, and modern embryology has nothing to do with anything of what Kent's really talking about at this stage, save for the fact that, yeah, the embryos of similar related species are similar. That's it. Similar. Not identical. Similar.
Here's the chart that Haeckel made, showing how that all these animals, the humans, the fish, the chicken...
Kent's first words from his neck thing, or the first words from Kent's neck thing, will probably be, God is dead. That'll be funny.
And all of them, the pig, all look identical as embryos. He lied through his teeth. On top are his drawings. Underneath are actual photographs of what he claimed he's drawing a picture of. This is the real thing. That's the picture he came out with. He's either an incredibly lousy artist, or he's lying. Well, we now know he was a fabulous artist, and he was lying. His own university held a trial, University of Jena in Germany. He confessed.
No, they didn't. He
said a small percentage of my embryonic drawings are forgeries. those namely for which the observed material is so incomplete or insufficient. Excuse me, you can't look at the baby embryo of a pig, cut one open, as to fill in and reconstruct the missing links by hypothesis and comparative synthesis. Big word saying, I lied, I'm not going to apologize, okay? He said I should feel utterly condemned were it not that hundreds of the best observers and biologists lie under the same charge. What did he say? I should be embarrassed, but everybody else lies, so I'm going to lie. Despite its status as a fake, Darwin continued to use the biogenetic law as the most important evidence of common descent. And Mr. Nelson, you should be embarrassed that you are still using embryology in 2018 when this was proven wrong in 1874. The human embryo itself at a very early period can hardly be distinguished from that of...
Gonna quote my pal, gonna quote my pal Seth here. Nobody says it's not a human until it's born. It's about fetal viability. You don't cut your grass and kill all of your tree saplings and say that you cut down an oak tree today. It's simple, Kent. Good point.
Other members of the vertebrate kingdom. That's what Charlie Darwin said. He was completely misinformed. All these frauds were brought to the public in 1911 in a book called Haeckel's Frauds and Forgeries. Few people know the pictures were fakes. The deceit was exposed in Haeckel's Frauds and Forgeries. They quoted 19 leading authorities of the day. It clearly appears that Haeckel, in many cases, freely invented embryos or reproduced the illustration.
I wish I had another belch ready to go because I feel like just interrupting him again with that, but nope. I'm tired of hearing about this. I'm so tired of hearing about Haeckel too. That's one of those things I could just get sick of because it not only is it just ad nauseum repeated like everything Kent does, but it's one of his longer rant triggers. So
illustrations given by others in a substantially changed form. They said it was a sin against truthfulness. Despite being exposed early on, Haeckel continued saying it was proof for evolution. He confessed it was wrong and they lied, but he continued to use it. Why? They don't have any other evidence. I was in a debate with an atheist one time and I went through about 20 lies in the textbooks, and he said, folks, Mr. Hovind is right, these things are lies, but I've got a question for you, Mr. Hovind. They never want to call me Dr. Hovind. He said, what are you going to replace all this?
Oh, see, there you go. I'm complaining about the piled higher and deeper earlier, and he's like, but they never want to call me Dr. Hovind.
With.
Well, that's exactly what Aaron said.
That's what Aaron said.
You have to replace it with something else for it to...
You can't take a lie. So if 2 plus 2 is 5 is in your math book, I can't take it out till I find a replacement. Okay, 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, I'll replace your embryos. God designed them. Replace it, okay? Michael Richardson at George's Medical School in London, he said he found there's no record that anyone actually checked Haeckel's claims. Nobody checked it. Makes me angry. What Haeckel did was to take a human embryo and copy it, pretending the salamander and the pig all look the same at every stage, at the same stage of development. They don't. They are fakes. When we see that at a certain stage, the embryos of man and ape, dog, rabbit, pig, and sheep, though recognizable as vertebrates, cannot be distinguished from each other. Haeckel said this in 1900, 25 years after he had been proven to be a liar. He's still teaching it. He doesn't have any evidence. Here's the drawings on top. There's the photographs on the bottom. This biogenetic law is as dead as a doornail. Back in 1988, Scientific American admitted that, or American scientists. They know it's not true. The biogenetic law as a proof for evolution is valueless.
Note that Aaron brought up none of these subjects. He didn't bring up biogenetic law. He didn't bring up recapitulation. He just said embryology, and Kent immediately triggers into a species. He does trigger into a species, if that makes sense. Goes into a script.
Has no value. Biogenetic laws become so deeply rooted in biological thought, it cannot be weeded out in spite of having been demonstrated to be wrong. I believe Aaron Ra is still teaching embryology as evidence for evolution. It's the 21st century. Wake up, boy. Okay, get up.
Wow. What an asshole, boy. You call him boy, you redneck piece of shit. How in the fuck Just some prissy ass born in fucking Illinois becomes such a piece of absolute trash to the degree that you are. To talk to people the way you do. To act the way you do. Just love to have a one-on-one interaction and have you say something like that. I dare you to fucking call me boy, Kent. Fucking dare you.
To speed. 19th century drawings still appear in reference books, are badly misdrawn, says an embryologist in Britain. Haeckel confessed to drawing them from memory and was convicted of fraud, but the drawings persist.
Seth, good catch. Yeah, he did say that Haeckel invented embryos. All right, everyone, show's over. We got to worship Ernst Haeckel.
Went to the University of West Florida in Pensacola and got their biology book, and there were Haeckel's.
And Pensacola, because he's obsessed with Pensacola, because the whole center of the universe is Pensacola. Audience, let Alice here know what you think. Has Kent Hovind always been evil? I think so, in one way or another.
Drawings. They're still using it. 2005, I went to University of North Dakota. Haeckel's drawings are still in there as evidence. Great book showing that it's not true.
Hey, Kent, did you go there in 2010 and check when they updated the books? Oh, wait, you couldn't.
Darwin's book came out in 1859. He predicted we're going to find evidence for my theory. Haeckel faked the drawings 10 years later because they didn't have any evidence. He was convicted of fraud by his own university in 1875, but they're still keeping it in the books. All these books are right here on the shelves. You're welcome to come look at them. I've got the page number right there. Still teaching the baby has gill slits. It is the shared features of the young embryos that suggest evolution from a distant common ancestor. Gill slits on the human. Glycobiology. Tim Barra still teaching it, a famous evolutionist. 115 years after it was proven wrong. This is Kenneth Miller, teaches at Rhode Island. We tried to get a debate with him, and Kenneth, anytime. 855 Big Dino, extension 3. I'll come up to your university and take on all your staff with half my brain tied behind my back. I can't believe you are...
You know, I'd love for him to actually do that, because that would involve... Well, what's the extreme form of a lobotomy? Because he said half the brain tied behind his back. That'd be breaking the corpus callosum and just taking a whole segment and just straight removing it so he'd literally have half a brain. That'd be pretty fun. Horrific, but fun. Wouldn't have to worry about Kent's videos anymore. He'd be a drooling idiot. Oh, wait. More of a drooling idiot.
Are still lying to your students, telling them embryology is evidence for evolution. You're either confused or you're deliberately lying. I don't know of another way to put it. You certainly shouldn't be giving that stuff to students. Gee whiz. This is a 1998 science book showing it. The presence of gills and tails. You can read these for yourself. Why would they, in the year 2000, you know, not 1874, that's 126 years later.
They got nothing better?
You don't have, okay.
Who the hell even are you in the peanut gallery? Are you even still at DAL? Are you still even a free man, or are you in prison? Because seriously, anyone from DAL getting arrested would not surprise me in the least.
Similarly, human and fish embryos resemble each other because humans and fish share a common ancestor.
Ooh, I think he's stroking out a bit here.
They say it's the same. They are lying. They are not the same. Gill pouches, a false
Science.
this false science. The evolution.
Yeah, this is actually bad. I didn't know this this wound up happening in this. So I forget exactly when his more prominent T something or other was. Little mini strokes that people can have. That, you know, was caught in one of the live streams, but this is pretty rough in its own right.
The history of evolutionism is also seen to the development of embryos. We've got evidence for evolution in 2004. by the embryos.
TIA, thank you. Yeah, this is that's definitely one of them that he was having. And, you know, he's obviously taking medication for that stuff now because he still behaves the same way. If he didn't get so worked up over this crap like he does, if he didn't obsess over evolution, and that's the crazy thing, is he worships the idea of evolution existing for him to argue with. That's his thing. Really break him down, that's what it is. So ironically, he worships evolution. If he didn't get so worked up over it every single day, it wouldn't be an issue. This wouldn't be nearly as bad a condition as what he's got, but here we are, late 2018, and he's stroking out completely. Think about it, this was just a couple of years out of prison. So imagine the amount of stress that had on him the 9 years he was in, for him to come out like this.
2004, embryos still teach evolution. Really? Gill slits teach evolution. In 2004, they're lying. This is not true. They say they've got evidence from the gill slits, proven wrong in 1874.
Yeah, that's the messed up thing, is that for those moments when you see his human frailties, you begin to actually empathize. It's because we're human, because our brains actually work right. He would not share the same at all. I guarantee it.
Still offering it as evidence for evolution. The presence of evidence of gill slits and tails shows we have a common ancestor. They're lying through their teeth. Not true at all. Compare.
You know, what worries me, and I've always had quirks like this, but it does get worse from time to time, is I'll have similar moments of just blanking out like that, and I always have, but as I get older, they do get a little more prominent, or I notice them more, I don't know. But it always worries me that it could be a sign of something. It could just be the fucked up wiring that is my brain, but I don't know. Slightly concerning.
Comparative embryology in 2005, still teaching it. Saying they have gill pouches. Those are not gill slits. Embryology.
Yeah, they just try to correct him on what word he's trying to say, guide him on that, like he's in first grade doing group reading. Instead of being like, Kent, you okay? I mean, it's like they had one kid, that one big one was where they were really like, are you okay? And even then it was kind of half-assed.
They have gill pouches and tails. Texas, Northern Michigan University still using them in 2006. Northern Michigan University.
Oh, good point, Deviant. No, Deviant says, no, she doesn't think he takes meds for it. She actually saw him. She thinks he recently had one. God, I'm having one right now. A bad one, because his right eye's even droopier than it used to be. Yeah, I see. Remember you making that comment. That's a fair assessment. We just didn't catch it live. I want to say I think he's taking something because we didn't catch as many live, but I guess it just depends on when it would happen. But if they were still happening more often, you think there'd be some more prominent effects as it aggregates together. So maybe he just recently did have a big one, regardless of what he may have been taking. Because for the past while, he seemed okay. I don't know. That's just my take on it. But yeah, something definitely happened recently.
I could get more slides from more recent. They haven't changed a thing. They're still using this, okay? Kent State
You can get more slides that are more recent, then why don't you do it, Kent?
University said, oh yes, the tortoise and the chicken have looked the same as embryos. They're lying through their teeth. They don't have gill slits. Evidence for evolution. They have gill slits. 2017 textbook off the internet. McGraw-Hill. Embryos have gill slits. This is a baloney. 2017 textbook from embryologywithevolution.blogspot.com. Here's Benjamin Spot.
Oh yeah, blogspot.com. Some serious scientific cred there. Woo!
Back in the 50s and 60s, kids got spocked instead of spanked. He said each child, as he develops, is retracing the whole history of the humankind. Physically and spiritually, step by step. A baby starts off in the womb as a single tiny cell, just the way the first living thing appeared in the ocean. Weeks later, as he lives in...
Oh man, we're about to watch him go through another one. This is rough.
in the amniotic fluid of the womb. He has gills like a fish. Gills like a fish. 2000.
Also, I don't give a fuck what Dr. Spock said. I don't even know who the fuck that guy is, and by that I mean I'm aware of them, but I don't know who the hell they are. They mean as much to me and their opinions as Dr. fucking Phil or Dr. fucking Seuss.
5 dictionary, American Heritage, on the shelf over there. The gill slit. Bony fish and all other vertebrates, including humans, have rudimentary gill slits during their embryonic stage. Really? This one says by 7 months.
He's still on it. Good God.
The fetus looks outside like a tiny normal baby, but it's not. It's not a baby at 7 months. That's a lie. Lie number 12 on my video number 4. The angel of the Lord said, "Behold, thou art with fetus and shalt bear a son." No, I believe the angel said you are with child. See, it's a child before it's born. They didn't call it a fetus, it was a child. Scott Peterson is accused of murdering his wife and unborn child. Why didn't they call it a fetus? Well, Scott Peterson is found guilty of murdering his wife and son. Why didn't they call it a fetus? Unborn child. In California, a double homicide qualifies.
It's a matter of intent, Kent. There's complex legalese around it. Legalese I'd love for you to go through and explain, but I don't think you can read basic English, let alone interpret legalese. And also, since when did you care about the law?
For the death sentence. So when they wanted to kill this guy, they wanted to call it a child. Otherwise, they would, if the mother would have just gone for an abortion, they would have called it a fetus. Hypocrites, yeah. 34% of babies born at 5.5 months survive. That was.
I hate to be super mean with this, Maria, but honestly, I don't think he has any plan set up. Whatever money exists at DAL might get used for something, but I mean, they're going to be liquidating stuff, and I really hate to say this, but I hope that Eric and the rest of the family don't grow empathetic when this happens and try to make amends or try to care for him. He doesn't deserve it. This is just mean of me to say, but fuck it. Kent deserves the kind of actual abandonment in the grand scheme at the end that he metaphorically gave to everyone around him. That kind of abandonment of not being a caring, decent human being. It's what he deserves. He deserves to just waste away alone. I won't feel pity. The only concern I have is someone judging me for having that viewpoint. But then I remind myself, this is Kent Hovind we're talking about. If you're going to defend him, forget it. I've got nothing to do with you.
In 98, probably greater now. Samuel Alexander was a 21-week-old baby.
Oh, here we go with this crap. Because we didn't realize we got into the abortion rant. We just wedged our way right in there. Because, you know, all atheists want to do and all evolutionists want to do is kill all babies.
Be less than 5 months in development, still in the womb. They had to do surgery on the baby before it was born.
Nothing makes you think like Zyklon beer, Hovind. Kent, probably while munching apricot seeds. Yeah, seriously. Okay, see, now, dang it, see, we're talking about abortion here, and so it's already a deep subject, and now, Deviant, you're making Holocaust references with the whole cyanide thing, and, this is getting too dark even for me. And I live in pitch black most of the time. Not really. Actually, I like my rooms really, really bright.
Cut the mother open, cut the uterus open, the baby's holding the doctor's finger. There's a great book about the evolution myth. Do we sell that one, Anna, in our bookstore? We got to get a price on that.
Who the hell's Anna? Oh, right. She doesn't work there anymore.
It's a fabulous book. So why did they keep this in the textbooks? It's very simple. That's the only way to scientifically justify abortion. They want you to say it's not a human yet. Because they want to reduce the population. Today it's 7.44 billion. They would like it to be 500 million.
No, Kent, that's the Georgia Guidestones that for some reason you crazy seem to think are something or were something profound. And as one of my viewers commented one time when it got brought up, um, those were for after a hypothetical apocalypse, which makes them make a whole lot more sense.
So, Mr. Nelson, I'm embarrassed for you that you're saying embryology is evidence for evolution. No, it is not. Get up to speed. My third line of evidence supporting evolution is that we don't just have a mechanism, we also have an actual theory.
Well, my opinion on the Kent situation is that he won't make it to a nursing home.
Jesus said, "You're of your father the devil, the lusts of your father ye will do." He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there's no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. He's a liar and the father of it.
Wow. I didn't know you were in the Bible, Kent.
Because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. So let me see if I got this straight. Your three best evidences for evolution in this series: the fact that evolution happens was number one. Biodiversity and natural complexity increase naturally. We covered that a couple days ago. That is not true. Number two, my second fact and evidence in support of evolution is taxonomy. Oh, the way we arrange the creatures. That is not true. We covered that. My third line of evidence supporting evolution is that we don't just have a mechanism, we also have an actual theory. We also have an actual theory, something creationism doesn't have and can't even
Yeah, it goes without saying that Kent knows precisely fuck all about the facts of abortion, development of the fetus, viability, the very nature of life, how it actually works, any of this stuff.
comprehend. Excuse me, Mr. Nelson. I may have to look up some of the giant words you use because you're trying to impress people. I'm trying to teach things at a simple level, and most people appreciate that. But we do have a theory. It's been in printed form for many thousands of years and has never been proven wrong. You see, the Bible is actually the anvil that has worn out many hammers.
No, it's a shitty book. That's a piece of shit. It's nothing but wrong. And you guys are stupid. As I said before, Christianity having become, to a lot of people, this simple personal thing, I can jive with that. We got people in the community who are religious, and they're cool about it. It's in a way that works. It's personal. You guys are totalitarian nightmares who demand that all of reality just be ignored and your whims be placated. You're authoritarian, self-centered fuckwits. And that's why we do what we do. The Bible's no anvil. It's a shitty book. A very shitty book. That's it.
Here is the Bible. Here is Mr. Nelson. You can keep beating on it all day long. You're going to be worn out and not it. And at Judgment Day, you're going to be really embarrassed. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. He claimed he did. God said everything's going to bring forth after his kind, after his kind, after his kind, after his kind, after his kind. There are no exceptions to that. After his kind, after his kind. 10 times in the...
You know, I want to bring up, since we're talking about, viability of fetuses, the ages and such, that, again, the age of the fetus, the time, like the 24 weeks, is counted from the menstrual cycle and not from the point of conception. So at conception, the fetus is on average already technically 2 weeks, because that's just how we measure it. So when you hear these numbers, like 24 weeks, you got to realize it's only really been developing proper for 22-ish. Really makes you think. Also helps if I press play on the right window.
The first chapter, God said they'll bring forth after their kind. A body of knowledge with profound explanative power that has withstood more and harsher critical analysis than any other theory. And yet it still has never failed or been contradicted. You're claiming that evolution is a body of knowledge that's never been contradicted. Excuse me, Mr. Nelson, okay? We got to define what we're talking about. I do this carefully in my seminar part 4 and in seminar part 1 of my series, because this is important. What are we talking about when you say evolution? Is it cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, matter? Is it chemical evolution, the origin of all the chemicals? Because if the Big Bang Theory is true, it produced hydrogen and helium and maybe lithium and deuterium. How do you get gold and silver and platinum out of hydrogen gas? I'd like...
Stellar fusion. Nucleosynthesis. You idiot. It's moments like that why I'd want to debate Kent. I would love for him to ask me these questions and just be so just directly blunt with it. Maybe sans the idiot, but just say the words in a way to annoy him.
Like to learn how to do that. Yeah.
You can totally do it, Kent. There is nothing stopping us, technically speaking, from synthesizing any natural element we want and plenty of artificial ones. Up to pretty damn heavy. Might not last very long on the extreme end, but all the others, we can do it. It just takes a hell of a lot of energy for what you get out of it. So you can synthesize all the gold you want, but it's not going to be profitable. Technically speaking, we have the capability to do it. Nothing's preventing us from engineering the machines. It's just not worth it.
They say, well, fusion. Oh, come on. You can't fuse past iron to begin with. Google that. How do you get helium? How do you get all these elements out of hydrogen and helium? It's imagination.
Yeah, I'd have to play straight man as much as I can, even with the condescending tone. Still not let it break until at the end it's just like, forget it. Game over, baby. He's been proven wrong. I mean, he's always proven wrong, but we all know the moment in the debate where you just got to say, forget it. This is done. He gave up.
Thirdly, there would have to be stellar and planetary evolution. Nobody has ever seen a star or a planet form. The silent embarrassment of modern astrophysics is we do not know how a single one of these stars managed to form. That was back in '86. You got something...
Yeah, we figured out stuff since then, and we had pretty good ideas back then, so I don't know what this Martin Hurwill person was writing about. We understand it pretty damn well now.
Better now? Has anybody seen a star form?
Yeah. We've seen every step of the process. Have you ever seen an entire human go from being a baby to being an old man? No. And unless they were born the exact same time as you and lived the exact same length as you and you were always around them, you never would. But we see all the steps, so we know that's what happens. And in our cases, you and I have experienced it ourselves. You're now 70-something, I'm 40.
The origin of stars is the most fundamental unsolved problem. They might see a spot getting brighter and claim a star is forming. You don't know a star is forming. Could be a dust cloud clearing in front of a star that's already there. Nobody's seen a star.
And we would have the evidence of it, such as the IR signature, that doesn't match a star already existing. The people who study space understand this stuff, Kent. Why don't you stick to studying the Bible? See, there's your problem, is you stepped out of the Bible because it's obviously too intensive a book for you to actually understand. And you started thinking that you can go on and tackle science because, oh, that conflicts with the Bible, so it'll be easy to tear down. And this is the shit we get. You're beyond scientifically illiterate. You're intentionally deceptive. And I'm pretty sure you smell bad. I don't know, I just had to throw something stupid in there.
Star form. No one really understands how star formation proceeds. It's remarkable. They see them blow up once in a while. Called a nova or a supernova if it's a big one. That's the opposite. One atheist I was debating, he said, we've calculated that if 30 stars explode near each other, it'll produce enough energy to form a new star.
Yes, that is an example of a singular process that could go on. If you had a whole lot of supernovae in the same area, like a lot of stars of roughly the same mass and the same age that all die near the same time, you might get enough stuff together to kind of jumpstart the process of another star happening to form in that area. That's just one process of many.
You got to lose 30 to gain 1. You ought to run for Congress. You could help them guys borrow their way out of debt.
Yeah, says the right-wing nut job who refuses to acknowledge that every time the Democrats are in office, the economy is generally performing well or better, And at a point, especially during the Clinton administration, which he hates so much, the country was actually in the positive. And then as soon as Republicans get in office, they just blow everything because that's just what they do. They just spend money. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. But, you know, they get mad about taxes. But, oh, when the companies are failing, oh, we got to bail them out. We got to bail them out. Let the car companies die. I don't give a shit. There's my socio-political and economic commentary for this stream.
It's been estimated there's enough stars in the universe, every person can own 11 trillion of them. Those are the ones we know about. We don't know about the ones that we don't know about.
No, Kent, that's a mathematical extraction. So most of those stars that be counted, we don't know about. At that point, the ones we'd see are just blobs of galaxies. Early galaxies, mind you. God. I feel like I'm going to blow a blood vessel trying to explain things to recorded 6 years ago, Kent.
There would have to be, if the universe is 13.7 billion years old, like you guys say, there'd have to be 9.7 million new stars forming every minute for 13 billion years, and we've never seen one do it. I think you got a problem. Get a new theory.
No, the only person who doesn't understand anything here, and the only person who has a problem is you.
Then you have to have what's called organic evolution. Life has to get started somewhere, somehow, from non-living material. And the
yeah, exactly. It is from his old seminar, because he was doing that he wrote that in the 90s. You know, again, that time period where Clinton got us into net positive for the first time in forever.
Major brand name evolutionists that know their stuff will admit nobody knows how life got started. Then you have macroevolution, where an animal changes into a different kind of animal. Nobody's ever seen that. American Kennel Association has 339 recognized breeds of dogs.
Wow, he's right back to the dog slide. This is the same slide he had earlier in the stream. In fact, I could probably pinpoint it. Come on. There it is. There it is again. Exact same image. It's not the same slide, but it's the same image. For a man who has 50 billion PowerPoint slides, a lot of them are really, really odd clones of each other.
They've had a common ancestor called a dog. And you may get a big dog and a little dog.
Completely unrelated, Emma Thorne uploaded a new video. Yay.
From a common ancestor. And it would be a dog. It stops. The further you get from the norm, the more problems you have. How long?
Yeah, like you, Kent. The further you got from the norm, the more problems you had. You were fine until you became a right-wing, Bible-thumping, blah, 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 chicken-eating, wife abusing, a fundamental Baptist. And then you got caught for taxes. Maybe you should just paid your taxes. Maybe you still have DAL.
What did Chihuahuas last in the real world? Not one day.
Surviving in the real world is irrelevant, and the fact that we can diversify the species to such a degree shows the actual capability of relatively quick evolutionary processes to happen, of variations to form.
In the wild, be a miracle, certainly not a week. You got to babysit the dumb thing. The hawks would carry it off around here, wouldn't they? Beans? I tell kids in my seminar, okay.
Marbled crayfish has observed macroevolution. I will have to look into that. Sounds interesting.
Kid, here we got a dog, wolf, coyote, and a banana. Which one is not like the others? The little boy, yeah. The banana, okay. The Bible says they bring forth after their kind. Now, Charlie's book on the shelf over there, The Origin of Species, this is where the problem got started. Microevolution is variations within the kinds. That one happens. The first 5 are purely religious. Nobody's ever seen those. Mr. Nelson, you've never seen them either. You have 0 scientific evidence for any of those first 5. None. Cover much more on that in video 4. You said, if you're going to refute or disprove any scientific theory, much less the best supported theory in all of science,
which it is, it's terrifying how well substantiated evolution is when you compare it to other scientific theories that are metaphorically held together by chewing gum and Elmer's glue. Fucking gravity. We barely have a grasp on that. The actual fundamentals of it. But because it's so blatantly obvious, no one but a flat earther can deny it.
What do you mean? Which?
Because our own personal interpretations of things are what define reality rather than, the actual facts. Reality is always exactly as it appears. There's never something atypical, never illusions, never anything that we can't quite see or anything that doesn't behave exactly at the same way at all scales. Kant accepts quantum physics to some degree, but at that point, you ain't observing much anything. You see some effects, but you ain't sitting there looking at quarks and leptons. It's by definition impossible to do. So come on, Kant.
Which one of these in evolution? If you mean this is the best supported theory, I agree. If you mean any of these, I disagree. Show me where's the evidence, scientific evidence that's been supports any of these first five. You're going to have to cough up your own theory and replace it. That's one of the rules of science. Okay, I got one. I got a theory. Sir Arthur Keith said evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it because the only alternative is special creation, and that's unthinkable.
I neither know nor care who Sir Arthur Keith is, and I'm so tired of all these constant quotes of random person says a thing. I don't give a flying fuck who says what.
Not allowed to think about creation. Pierre-Paul de Grasse said, no matter how numerous they may be, mutations do not produce any kind of evolution. They can't increase genetic complexity. They can scramble what's already there. That's all they can do. Dr. Lee Spetner taught information theory for a decade at Johns Hopkins University and the Weizmann Institute. He's written a new book called Not by Chance, Shattering the Modern Theory of Evolution. In the book, he said, in all the reading I've done in all the life sciences literature, I've never found a mutation that added information. All point mutations that have been studied reduce genetic information. They do not increase it. Here's a five-legged bull. There's no new information added. He already had the info to make a leg. He built one in
That's an absorbed twin, idiot.
the wrong spot. That's scrambling existing information. He didn't get a wing or a feather or a beak. He got a leg, and he already had a leg. Natural selection may have a stabilizing effect, but it does not promote speciation. It's not a creative force. Natural selection can only act on properties that already exist. It cannot create properties. But Charlie Darwin, in the 6th edition of his book, which I think I've got 6th edition on the shelf, he said we have to abandon natural selection. He used to rely on that. Said, sorry, it doesn't work. Natural selection is incompetent to account for the incipient stages of useful structures. Mr. Nelson, why are you still teaching evolution? Why do you still believe that?
All these quotes, I don't give a fuck who said what. I just don't. It's not a gotcha. It's just bullshit.
They say the human appendix is vestigial. That's lie number 13 in my seminar series, video 4, lies in the textbooks. Your appendix is not vestigial. Such structures, which are considered to be an evidence of an organism's evolutionary past, are called vestigial structures. For example, the hind limbs of whales are vestigial. There are no vestigial structures.
I was reminded, I forget what I was watching, but I was reminded that, give me a sec. Sorry, yawns are coming back. That, if it's a marine animal and the tail fin is horizontal, used to be a land animal. If it's vertical, it's a fish, basically. And I was like, oh yeah, that is easy to remember. Like I knew that, but I'd forgotten it. But I subconsciously knew it. It was just one of those simple little things where it's like, oh yeah, that is a key noticeable difference that is universally applied. It's always that way or the other. Makes you think.
Even if there were, that's the opposite of evolution. That's losing, not gaining. Not going to help. Vestiges of Human Evolution, Anatomy and Physiology, 3rd edition. They have useless little piloerector muscles.
No, I'm good on Psi 10. Oh, I'm good on watching Psi 10. I'll torture myself, but not like that. It's bad enough I do Hovind. Maybe if you guys pool enough money together, I'll watch a Saitan Bruggencate debate. You can pick the debate.
Muscle around every hair. When you get the goosebumps, that little muscle tightens and your hair stands up. That's proof of evolution.
$4.99 super chat from the ever lovely Laura. Why don't lizards evolve wings like dragons so they can escape predators? Tybalt, Princess of Cats. 3 lizards 0. Oh, and I missed this one a second ago. So Tibby came in here and started talking. What's up, girl? Timmy's in the well? But no, she had found another lizard and brought it in to show us. Nice.
Difficult to understand vestigial structures, such as these, as anything other than evolutionary relics. Oh no, it's real simple. God designed it. When you get cold, the little muscle tightens up, hair stands up, traps a layer of air, helps keep you warm. Not complicated. They say it's vestigial. That's a body part you don't need anymore. Oh, in 1925, evolutionary zoologist Horatio Hackett Newman said there are 180 vestigial structures.
Oh, look, he sure as hell wouldn't try to pronounce that. He has no culture. There are, according to Wiedersheim, no less than 180 vestigial structures. He wouldn't know how to pronounce that. One of my managers when I worked at Walmart had a very, very German name. I was the only person who pronounced it correctly because I just knew instantly. It's Va. Yeah, and then I continued on with it. I don't want to semi-dox him. But yeah, it was actually the same kind of thing. Started with the WA instead of WI.
Things you don't need in your body. They said you don't need your tailbone. You don't need your tonsils. You don't need your adenoids. When I was a kid, they took out my tonsils and adenoids.
Yeah, they took out mine too. Didn't help with the sinus problems I got. Did help with the sore throats to a degree.
Common. They thought, no, but you don't need them. Take them out. It was all the time.
Yeah, but the theory has changed.
The theory has changed. They found out, oh, you need them. Yeah. Here's Ask a Scientist.
Well, it's more a matter of, cases of common infection and the like. In the case of my tonsils being removed, and they took care of the other stuff at the same time, which was probably outdated by that point, but it is what it is.
University of Chicago. Ask a Scientist. Nancy writes in, what is the function of the...
Oh, this is cute. Hey everyone, you wanna have some fun down there in the chat? We got Keon Aris. Absolutely love this guy. He destroys atheists left and right and leaves a swath of ego-obliterated atheists in his wake. Cope some more. You made me laugh, so I'm not gonna kick you. So if you want to have some fun with the chat, feel free.
Appendix in a human. The scientist writes back, the appendix has no known physiological function. It's believed the appendix will gradually disappear in human beings as our diet do not includes cellulose no more. Our diet do not includes cellulose no more. I will refrain from picking on the poor grammar because maybe the person, English is not their first language. Certainly logic is not their first language either, first class. The human appendix has been proposed to be a vestigial structure. A structure that has lost all or most of its function.
Oh, Deviant, you're familiar with this person. Okay.
Original function. Or that has evolved to take on new function. The suggestion was that it was the shrunken remnant of the cecum, thought to have been present in remote ancestors of humans. This is from Wikipedia.
Cecum? I verily know him. And yes, I just said I verily know him. I barely know him. I ruined my own joke.
Wikipedia. Hold it. The appendix is shrinking. Vestigial structures. Examples, your appendix. Vestigial means you don't need it anymore. Once upon a time, it was used to store the inedible things people...
Much like the various quotes, really don't care about vestigial organs that were found to not necessarily be as useless, or however one wants to interpret use versus uselessness, or what one is defining here, there, or elsewhere. There's still a multitude of traits that, regardless of that, are definitely deprecated from what they were, with things like the appendix being one of them, and the coccyx. Definitely deprecated from what it once was in our ancestry.
Ate like bark, fruit, peelings, even rocks. That's why a surgeon can remove it without causing any harm. They are lying to the students here. Long regarded as a vestigial organ with no apparent function, no function in the human body, the appendix is now thought to be one of the sites where immune responses are initiated. Scientific.
Yeah, and it's also a pouch that gets infected and could easily kill you, and the removal of such is not critical for your survival. When you combine that with its evolutionary lineage, you then reach a point where it can be claimed as vestigial. As opposed to how you say, oh, or you can live without an arm or a leg or something. It's like, this is true, but they have their proper functions. They're not reduced from what they were. Big difference.
American. This is back in 01. This is like 17 years ago. They know the appendix is part of your immune system. The appendix is required to activate killer B cells in your immune system like your thymus activates killer T cells. Oh, it's...
And the RNRA activates... excuse me, I got that backwards. And the Kent Hovind activates the killer RNRA cells. Take out the Hovind. I don't know, that sounded better in my head. Everything sounds better in your head than you say it. You're just like, yeah, just made an idiot myself. All right, moving on.
Removal increases a person's susceptibility to leukemia, Hodgkin's disease, cancer of the colon, and cancer of the ovaries. Don't take your appendix out. I mean, it beats dying of appendicitis if you have to, but you're going to shorten your life by about 8 years is the average by taking your appendix out. You need your appendix. The coccyx, the human tailbone, is the remnant of...
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how a man who's supposed to be a preacher spends most of his time talking about that evolution that he worships so much because he has to have his enemy to go against, so he needs evolution to survive, and he's obsessed with it, contrary to what he thinks we all are. But he only spends a little bit of time talking about the Bible, and even when he does that, he does a pretty terrible job of it. It's really funny.
Of a lost tail. Wikipedia. All mammals have a tail at some point in their development. In humans, it is present for a period of 4 weeks during stages 14 to 22 of the human embryogenesis. Oh, really? This tail is most prominent in human embryos 31 to 35 days old. The mother probably doesn't even know she's pregnant yet. 31 to 35 days. The tailbone, located at the end of the spine, has lost its original function in assisting balance and mobility, though it still serves some secondary functions, such as being an attachment point for muscles, which explains why it has not degraded further. Wikipedia, you are insane. Certifiably insane. It's believed the appendix will gradually disappear in human beings as our diet do not include cellulose no more. Says we can obviously live without it. Okay, Nancy, I think you wrote this article. No, Nancy wrote the question. Who's answered this thing? I don't remember the name. If you think the tailbone is vestigial, I will pay to have yours removed. Come down, bend over. I will even sharpen my Swiss Army knife for the occasion.
Yeah, don't go telling me to come over and bend over. And here he goes with what you can and can't live with, because that's the only deciding factor on vestigiality of things. It's like, no. As I constantly have to say, everything is nuanced, and Kent doesn't understand. Creationists don't understand the concept of nuance. It's lost on them completely.
You can live without both your legs, both your arms, both your eyes, both your ears. That doesn't prove
I could live without Hovind.
you don't need them. The appendix is part of your immune system. This one says, many organisms retain traces of their evolutionary history. For example, the whale retains pelvic and leg bones as useless vestiges.
Uh-oh. You know, it's been a while. He finally stopped saying it in modern streams, but we might get a visit from an old friend of Hovind's. Are y'all ready? Because I know the whale sure is.
Vestigial. Whales have small bones at the end of the body walls that are vestigial bones of hips and hind limbs. This is what they're teaching the kids. National Center for Science Miseducation. And I debated Jeannie Scott once, and Jeannie, anytime, take you on again. I'll fly to Berkeley and take you on. A drop of a hat, I'll drop the hat. Okay? They said, we are a non-profit tax-exempt membership working to defend the teaching of evolution against sectarian attack. When I went to Berkeley, that was their office. They got a fancier one now. Somebody donated money. They said, oh yeah, is this how whales evolved? From a cow to a whale. A whale can give 2,000 pounds of milk.
Let the record show that this person just referred to Kent as a pimp. Yeah, that's a pimp.
in one day. Utterly ridiculous. They say the reason why is because whales have a vestigial pelvis right there.
Here we go. Here we go. He's about to bring up the 15-footer.
Vestigial pelvis and leg bone that serve no purpose. These structures are evidence of the whale's evolution from four-legged land-dwelling mammals. That biology book's right over there, I believe. Modern whales have hind limbs, which have been reduced to only a few tiny internal hind limb bones that have no function. You gotta be kidding. Who wrote this book? Just imagine whales walking around. It's true. They're talking about these bones right there. Just imagine the whale walking around. I can't imagine. I tried. I can't do it. There you go. Killer whale, Cambridge University. When I was over there, they got it hanging up in the ceiling. Killer whale. How about humpback whale, Milwaukee, Wisconsin? They're real proud of this. These bones have a sign saying this is evidence for evolution. Imagine the whale walking around. I can't imagine.
I'm planning that one. That was actually that radio debate, call-in debate, was the original one that I was going to do, and I did most of it as a very early prototype to the Hovind concept, and didn't like how it came out. And I've wanted to, and it never feels quite right. It might just be the fact that it is such a crudely recorded one, given how they were recording the interaction and stuff. But I should seriously go through it at some point, because it is something pretty good.
National Pornographic even said, millions of years ago, dolphins had legs. Oh, really? Why? Because of those little hind leg bones. Now listen, you guys that did all the teaching this baloney. Those little bones are not vertebral.
Yes, our little Hovindite here, avoiding the fact that he knows good and damn well what the vernacular PDF file means in this context. How about I phrase it a little better way? He's an enabler of people who would partake in CSAM content.
Not evidence for evolution. The whale's pelvis, located far from the vertebrae,
And would conduct CSA themselves.
has no apparent function. Well, there's the bone they're talking about right there. It is part of the whale's reproductive system. Remember, whales have to mate in the dark, underwater, with no arms, and they can't talk and say, "Squirt over, honey." This has nothing.
It's funny that he doesn't say that anymore, because we all roasted him about it. He realized, I can't say this anymore. Because what I say is stupid. Hovind.
Whatsoever to do with walking on land. It has to do with making baby whales. Why would they teach the kids this is vestigial? Vestigial structures, such as a pelvic bone in the baleen whale, are evidence of evolution. No, they're not. They're evidence of design. God designed them. Vestigial structures. The skeleton of a whale reveals the presence of
Something keyboard warrior.
pelvic bones. Pelvic bones? Accessed off the web last few months ago. That's not a pelvic leg bone. It's not vestigial. The whale's pelvis is evidence of evolution from four-legged land-dwelling mammals. This is not true. Lie number 14 in my series about lies in the textbooks. There's the bone they're talking about right there. Has a blood supply, nerve supply. It's part of the reproductive system. This one, hippos, likely evolved from a group of anthrosauthrians, 15 million.
Anthrosotheres. Come on. Anthrocotheres, potentially.
Years ago.
One or the other.
And first whales evolved 50 million years ago. The ancestor of both of these groups was terrestrial, walked on land. The first whales, such as Pakicetus, were typical land animals.
Boy, it's funny, Keon. You're describing religion perfectly.
They had long skulls and large carnivorous teeth. Ah, okay, berserkly. Here they show them in line. Here, all the whales coming from a common ancestor as all other critters. All you got to do is draw lines on paper, and it's got to be true. The bones in...
But the Bible isn't lines on paper. Oh, no. It's just lines on paper.
Red is what they actually found, 5 meters above the rest of the skeleton, 15 feet away. In a court of law, you could not prove that came from the same animal at all. It's a fact the bones were found in the dirt. There. The evolutionists have an interpretation of that, so do the creationists. They say they're evidence of one kind of animal changing to another. The Christians say, no, these bones you found are evidence it died. They're always trying to erase that line and make students think their interpretation is part of the evidence. See, it's easy to get confused. How many saw the movie The Green Mile, Tom Hanks? Great movie, okay? In the movie, here are the facts. 2 girls are missing. A massive manhunt is organized. Evidence. John Casey is found holding the...
And Billy's channel is quite amazing. And when you add in the fact that he is a Christian, and he's one of the Christians I talk about, where I try to compartmentalize the broadness of this kind of religious insanity versus that personal religious construct that people like him have, and the way they approach things. 2 very different things. And I can respect the latter, not the former. Billy going after Kent, so many others that are also Christian who were in that fold and go after Kent should say plenty.
The 2 dead girls. John Coffey, yeah, John Coffey. Fact. John Coffey is arrested and executed for the crime in the movie, right? Fact. He was not guilty. This guy did it. You know, it's possible to look at the evidence and come to the wrong conclusion. And you atheists are so angry.
Sorry, just... Oh, this chat of mine. Whew.
Anxious to get God out of your life that you look at the evidence and everything you see becomes evidence for evolution. God said there'll be 2 of every sort shall come unto thee. God told Adam and Eve in Genesis 1 they're going to bring forth after their kind. God told Noah it's going to be after their kind, after their kind, after their kind. I mean, see, a herd of elephants will only come from and produce a herd of elephants. At the individual level or at the group level, evolution doesn't work. A pride of lions only come from and reproduce a pride of lions. A pod of whales will only come from and reproduce another pod of whales. A gaggle of geese will only come from and produce a gaggle of geese. A murder of...
Ah, yes, the Christian, the creationist, the apologist, the nut job demanding that everyone do everything for them. Goalpost moving much? Because that is what it is, the variation of moving the goalpost.
Crows will only come from and reproduce a murder of crows. Swarm of locusts will only come from and only reproduce a swarm of locusts. A troop of apes will only come from and only reproduce a troop of apes. Maybe an occasional college professor out of that. No individuals evolve and no groups evolve either. Anyone who teaches otherwise is either lying or stupid. Now, Mr. Nelson said, my third line of evidence, third line, is that we don't just have a mechanism, we also have an actual theory. Get a new one. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. I got a theory too. In 6 days, the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is. So Adam must have seen dinosaurs. Yeah, we covered that on video 3. Part 2, we talk about the firmament in the midst of the waters and why they live to be 900. There used to be a firmament above the waters, above the atmosphere. Get my video number 2 if you want more on that. The Bible says the earth is the Lord's. He established it upon the floods. Sorry, let's be a little long tonight. Almost done here. Psalm 24, Psalm 33. He lays up the depth in storehouses. Psalm 136. He stretched out the earth above the waters. You said Christians don't have a theory. I'm going to give you my theory, Mr. Nelson. When God first made the world, there was a layer of ice above the atmosphere. Maybe
I just want to go on record as saying my mods can do whatever they want, whenever they want. You know, don't feel like you're gonna upset me if you decide to just click some buttons and do whatever. I just laugh.
10, 15 miles up, I don't know. It's gone now. It fell down at the flood. There was a layer of air to breathe under greater pressure, explaining why we have ginormous insect fossils. Insects breathe through their skin. Watch my video number 2. Underneath the crust was lots of water trapped. That water came up, canopy came down, water came up. Most of the flood water came from inside, not from rain. So from the creation up until the flood, the Bible teaches during that time the people lived to be 900. Get my charts, I got one here somewhere. Anyway, they lived to be 900 years old before the flood. Now it's a fact of science that reptiles never stop growing. Like all reptiles, it grows throughout its life. So dinosaurs were big lizards with Adam and Eve. You said, we don't have a theory. I'm explaining carefully. God made everything in 6 days. They were living to be 900, and the reptiles grew to be huge. And we can explain all of it. Variations within species certainly happen, but they're limited. I wouldn't use Carolus Linnaeus's classification system. I would use the word kind, like the Bible says. Anything above that is speculation.
Yeah, actually define kind. The last time you made a whole video dedicated to that, you just bitched about species for a half hour.
But the Bible says in the last days there will be scoffers. Mr. Nelson, this is you. They're going to say, where's the promise of his coming? Since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. For this they willingly...
Let us note that this is an hour in, and only now does he get to anything about the Bible, which is understandable given this video was focused on him addressing Aaron Ra's. The points in Aaron Ra's video, he decided to meander about for a solid hour. Again, a 24-minute video, and it took Kent 7 hour plus videos when you average it out to do 45 minutes, whatever. But he's supposed to be a preacher, but this is what he spends his time focusing on, be it, back in 2018, be it today, be it back in 1997, doesn't matter. This is his obsession. He's obsessed with evolution. He cares more about it than the actual fucking evolutionists do, which isn't a thing, but
are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. Watch my video number 2 for much more on that. And the world was overflowed with water. They're ignorant of the flood, and they're ignorant of the coming judgment. 2 Peter 3:7. So their scoffers are ignorant of the creation, the flood, and the coming judgment of God. They don't want to talk about that. Mr. Nelson, you're ignorant of the creation. God did it in 6 days. That's the only way it works with all the millions of symbiotic relationships.
I don't control my moderators. They're contracted out as a subset of Zadara Entertainment. They operate on their own. Contractually obligated to not interfere with their actions. So remember, don't blame me. Blame yourself. You don't get yourself kicked. No, I don't kick you out of the channel. My mods don't kick you out of the channel. You kick yourself out of the channel. Logic goes both ways, bitches.
Animals and plants exchange gases with each other. Just Google symbiosis. It can't happen slowly. Bible dates put the creation 6,000 years ago, which means dinosaurs lived with man. So, Jesus came down to redeem his creation. We went away in sin. He let them kill him.
Blah, 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 blah. He had a shitty weekend as a punishment of a crime, as the First, your deity sets up this stupid situation and has some magical crime that everything in the universe commits against itself, then sacrifices themselves to themselves, having a shitty weekend at worst, as a magic way of forgiving this stuff that they could just forgive automatically. But you still have to go through certain particular rituals and processes for that to be valid. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's so fucking stupid.
3 days later, he rose from the dead. Soldiers were amazed. Where is he? We find fossils all the time indicating there's death. This fish probably never thought that was his last moment till this guy got a hold of him, and neither one of them thought, oh no, we're about done here. And the flood came and buried him half his dinner down his throat. You don't know when you're going to die either, Mr. Nelson. Understand you?
Yeah, it looks like that fish kind of choked eating that one. He got a meal that was a bit too big.
Live in Dallas, Texas area. Have you seen the way they drive in Dallas, Texas? You may want to think about that really hard. It's appointed unto man wants to die, but after this the judgment. Now, shortly before Mount St. Helens erupted, Tim Barron's, good friend of mine, used to work at KJSL Radio in St. Louis, witnessed to Harry Truman, who lived on Mount St. Helens. He told me Harry was a very profane man, cursed and swore, but he listened carefully to what I had to say and rejected it. Harry stayed on the mountain when it blew. His body was never found.
Yeah, that's because that entire camp, his lodge, his entire thing would have been not just annihilated by the pyroclastic flow from the eruption, but materials would have been buried in the erupted material. Of course, nothing was found. He's still there in what's now the ground around the moved Spirit Lake. I love the story of Harry Truman and Spirit Lake and Mount St. Helens. Dude was an absolute badass. But of course, you're going to talk shit about him. I don't even know how true this necessarily is, but I know of Harry Truman. I know about his lodge. You're an asshole, Kent.
Never found him. Bible says, he that hath the Son hath life. He that hath not the Son of God hath not life. God is not willing that any should perish. What's going to happen soon is just like happened in the days of Noah. When the Son of Man comes back, it's going to be like it was in the days of Noah. In the days before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage, making YouTube videos about how God doesn't exist. I added that part. Until the day Noah entered into the ark and knew not till the flood came and took them all away. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be, coming again. We must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ. Mr. Nelson, you don't realize this at all, and you'll never admit this, but I'm the best friend you've got. Because I'm telling you, you are insane to believe in evolution. I'm trying to help you. Now, you have a much bigger vocabulary on this topic than I do.
It goes to show that the religious cannot comprehend in any way, shape, or form how someone non-religious remotely views anything. And I don't mean that as something positive, which they may try to spin it as. When it's constantly, they're surprised by like, oh, the atheist doesn't believe in souls. Oh, what about heaven? What about, like, the entire fundamental element required for all of those other propositions is rejected outright. So no. Fucking theists have got to come up with something better. Because you guys are asking... this is shit you should already know. You're going to ask somebody, oh, don't you want to go to heaven? There is no heaven. Why don't you get to something that actually is discussable? I want to ask you of Guild Wars reference. Hey, you want to go to the Mists? And I'm dead serious about it. The Mists aren't real. So no, you can't go.
I probably have a bigger vocabulary than you on other topics.
Your vocabulary is shit, Kent.
But you've worked really hard to hide your crazy idea in your verbose vocabulary. Jesus said, I come quickly. So if you die today, where would you go? You're going to be dead.
Oh, look, Frank, you're trying to play manipulation games with what people say.
Dead for a really long time. Really long. All you get in life is a little bitty dash between two dates. Now, someday there's going to be a rock that says Aaron Nelson. Born 1962, died, could be this year, couldn't it? I hope it's not. I don't wish that on anybody.
Sadly, Zoomy, no, you can't.
But you and I both know it could be. Now, I asked you to provide your 3 best evidences for evolution. I think I've adequately answered. You go another minute or so on this tape talking about non-essential stuff. If you'd like, I can answer that, but I want to go back.
90% of what you said is non-essential. You wasted hours on responding to a 20-some-minute video, Kent.
Back to my regular study we've been doing, so I'm going to call it quits right here. Unless, if you give a response to this series, don't forget, you make your claim, which you did. I respond, which I just did. I'm done. You get to respond if you'd like. I would suggest you not. I suggest you zip it and go get a job flipping hamburgers. Do something else, okay? But if you respond, remember the rules, I get to respond again.
Why don't you get a real job, Kent? You do that from time to time, suggest other people go get other jobs, usually demeaning jobs or jobs that are perceived as such, because you think you're so much better than that. Why don't you do some actual work instead of begging on the internet for people to give you shit for your stupid dinosaur mud pit? Fucking dumbass.
So, how about we just call it quits? And why don't you say, Hovind, you're right. I was wrong. God, would you please forgive me? That'd be great. Call me, 855 Big Dino, extension 3. I'll be glad to talk to you. Aaron?
And call me, 855 Big Dildo, extension 666, and I'll tell you to fuck off. Yamato.
I would love to win you to Christ. I think that's what you need. I'm not your enemy. I'm the best friend you've ever had, and you don't even know it. All right.
If I was interested in a religion, Kent, there'd be far better representatives and far better people to assist in that process than you. And by that, I mean literally anyone else. See if there's anything else he says in the next 12 seconds.
Push thumbs up, like us, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the stuff you're supposed to do. I don't know. Share it. And yeah, subscribe and tell others about it. Come down and visit Dinosaur Adventureland. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Okay, so it just ended pretty straightforward. This is still back in the era where he said the YouTube things. He apparently stopped doing that at a point. Seems to have forgotten about how any of this stuff, what he thought he knew about how any of this stuff worked. He just makes Al Gore's rhythm jokes regularly. So yeah, that's that was a video. Oh, great. We got people doing band evasion in here. And, you know, it's not my business. It's what my mods do. Yeah. Whatever. That was a Hovind video. Yeah, it got a little exciting at the end with these clowns showing up in the chat. So if you're watching this, you know, the video on demand, the replay of it, and you aren't looking at the chat, you miss some fun stuff there. But yeah, don't really have anything else to add. We made it through the bulk of Hovind's first section, so all we got left are a few videos that were Hovind's second/third reply because the man couldn't keep straight which section of, you know, the debate he was even in, because he's Hovind. He's completely fucking incompetent. And yeah, all in all, it sucked, as it always does with a Hovind video, but hey, we had some fun watching them. Chat got spicy towards the end. Still is. It'll probably be spicy long after I leave, because I don't know how long YouTube honestly leaves these things open. I think technically speaking, so long as there's a user on the page, it keeps the chat active. That'd be an interesting experiment. But that's me thinking out loud. I've got other stuff to work on. I've got other videos to watch. I've got polishing to do on the XMPP server. Some other things. Guild Wars to play. And friends to hang out with. If anyone needs me, I'll of course be in the Discord. Much love.